Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. I am Troy Otradovic, as always, joined with my co-host Evan Watallison. And Evan, the Packers season is now over, so we've got to find other ways to fill the ramble. But the NFL season isn't over, and it's actually heating up. We've got the playoffs, and we've got this crazy thing called the Coaching Carousel that is now in full swing, with a number of jobs still open. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about these jobs, some of the potential candidates that could fill them, and just give our opinion. What are the good jobs out there, and where wouldn't you want to go? So everybody sit back, relax, listen to what Evan and I have to say about the coaching jobs available. With that said, Evan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the open positions and some of the candidates that are out there to fill these jobs.
Well, and I'm going to touch on something at the end of the show regarding a couple of comments Aaron Rodgers made, just to throw that out there now on his Tuesdays with Aaron show. But we'll get to that a little later. But, you know, the current openings in the NFL, you have two positions that were filled. Tampa Bay hired Lovie Smith, which is a great hire for Tampa Bay. They have a very good young defensive line. They're building something special on defense in Tampa Bay. And it fits exactly what the Tampa Bay wants to run, which is at Tampa 2. And Leslie Frazier's their defensive coordinator there now. And then Houston hired Bill O'Brien, again, another job that I think was a great hire for Houston. I personally think it was probably the top job on the market, looking at the talent Houston had. They're literally a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl team. But the jobs that are still available is you have Cleveland, you have Tennessee, you have Detroit, you have Minnesota, and you have Washington. And looking at those positions, Troy, what position do you think is probably the best job still left out there out of those five jobs?
Well, of those five left, hands down, it's the Lions. I mean, that's the cream of the crop job right now. And so whatever way they're going to go with their coach, that person is going to be blessed. I mean, you're coming in. Stafford, you know, you and I have talked about Stafford. I don't have him an elite status quarterback, but the guy is a good player, puts up good numbers. They got a good receiving core. They got Reggie Bush. The line played well on offense. Defensively, you got Sue, you got Farley, you got a defense that really gets after people. They just needed some structure in my mind, some disciplined structure to really corral that talent and put it into basically accountability. And that's where I think Jim Schwartz went wrong. It seemed like he was a player's coach. The players liked him. He had a little fire, but it just didn't seem like they had the structure and the accountability from the top to the bottom. But I think that's the cream of the crop job when you look at these five that are out there. And I know you and I agree on that. But with that said, with the Lions being the cream of the crop, where would the second job be? What do you think that would be?
I personally think it's Tennessee Titans. You look at the other jobs that are left out there, you know, and I'm going to pull up Tennessee roster in a second just to, you know, defend my case a little bit. But Minnesota, they have a lot of issues on the defensive side of the ball. You know, a lot of free agents, a lot of, you know, holes in the secondary, no quarterback. And I don't see that job being, you know, that great of a job. Washington, that's a complete mess. The owners completely ruined that job there. And then you know, you're saying pre-show, and you state your point, I'm sure, on why is that's the job I wouldn't want. And then Cleveland's just been a disaster right now too. And you look at the Tennessee roster, you know, I think they're really a quarterback and maybe another wide receiver or two away from being legit contenders. You have Kendall Wright, who's a developing wide receiver. You have a pretty solid offensive line. You have Delaney Walker, who's a very underrated tight end. Chris Johnson, if he returns, is a great running back. But besides him, you got Sean Green and Jackie Battle, who have been pretty solid running backs. And you look at the defense, they have a very good young defensive line with Derek Morgan, Sammy Hill, Darrell Casey. I'm not going to try to pronounce the other name. It's I think it's Tua, something like that, and you have a good linebacking core. It's led by rookie Zach Brown and Akeem Ayers. And you got a pretty solid secondary core, in my opinion. You know, they could use another probably couple bodies in the secondary. But I think the Tennessee Titans job is probably the second best available, second best job with what's available. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And when you look at the Lions and the Titans job, there's two different dynamics to this. And you can chime in when I'm done with my thought here. If I take the Lions job, if I'm a coach, I'm going to be expected to win immediately. That team should have won the NFC North hands down this year with the health of that team and who was playing, considering everything that went on in the North, with Aaron Rodgers going down for 7 games, Cutler going down, and you know my thought on that. If McCown would have kept playing, I thought the Bears would have won. But the Lions let one slip away. So ownership is going to expect immediate turnaround and immediate contention for a title with the talent there. And I think that's why they let Jim Schwartz go. Tennessee, on the other hand, like you said, a very good young nucleus. Jake Locker's not the answer in Tennessee. They need a quarterback. They have a running back that has proven that he can run for 1,500 yards. Yes, he's getting a little older, but he's still got some juice in the tank. I agree with you with the young receiving core. If they can add another good receiver via free agency, via draft. But that defense was a defense that hung in there, kept them in games because of the inept quarterback play. I mean, the Titans were in playoff talks, Evan, up until late in the season. I mean, I know that 8-8 got into the AFC playoffs, but they were still hanging around. And they hung around because of that good young defense. So I'm right there, 1A and 1B, Detroit and Tennessee, but two different dynamics if I'm a coach looking for my first job. In Tennessee, I might get a little bit of room to have a little slip up next year. In Detroit, I better be able to win immediately because I think ownership, as much as they supported Schwartz going into that last game, they knew they were getting rid of him. They were totally upset with the way that this year played out, with the amount of talent, Stafford, Johnson, Bush. They should have won that division. So I'm right there with you, bud. And we'll then talk about, two jobs that I probably wouldn't want, and I'll get your opinion on this. The Washington Redskin job and the Cleveland Browns. If I'm a coach and I'm looking at Cleveland, I don't think Chud did a bad job. You and I rambled Saturday about it. The guy goes in trying to put a program in place. You give him 1 year and it wasn't good enough, so you get rid of him. If I'm a coach going in there, if I sign a 5-year deal, it doesn't matter. I'm sitting there thinking I've got 1 year to win with nothing here to win with. There's a lot of pieces that need to go into that team. So I can see that job being open for a little bit, and I can see people turning that job down because what are they going to be thinking? How much time do I really have to produce a winner? Do you want it now, or are you going to give me time to get my program in and start winning and let me build a team? And like you said, the Redskins, that's just a fiasco. I've never been a Daniel Snyder fan. I've never been a fan of being able to try and buy championships. And the way that he runs that organization, I don't cover the Redskins every day, nor do I follow them every day. But it just seems like there's never a good free agent signing, and there's never a good hire. I know Shanahan got him to the playoffs, but he also had RG3 healthy in year 1, and nobody knew how to defend him. So part of that success goes because of the number 1 overall pick, or their number 1 draft pick there. And now I was reading today that their list of candidates keeps growing. Narrow it down.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you?
I don't know what the heck they're doing in Washington or Cleveland, really.
I mean, think about it, Evan. Don't you think at this time that you should be narrowing your coaching search instead of widening it?
You'd think so.
I just don't. I don't understand. But what are your thoughts on those two?
Neither are jobs. Especially if I was an established head coach, I would not want the job. Especially if I was an established head coach. So if I'm like I guess just throw this name out. I know he's not going to be taking a job anytime soon. Like if I'm the Bill Cowher out there or the John Gruden, I don't want those jobs. I have no power. Daniel Snyder does everything. As much as the GM says, I'm in control, he looks very stern at the camera. I'm in control. He's not.
No.
It's all Daniel Snyder. Then Cleveland, and we talked about this Saturday. I don't know if they know at all what they're doing. First, they were going to interview Bob Stoops. Now they're not. They're interviewing Ben McAdoo, who is most recently the quarterback's coach in Green Bay, which Rodgers seems to be a big fan of his and supports him going there. I guess Rodgers has sent a text to him that if you want to use me as a reference, go ahead. Some comment like that. But he's not the big name that when they let Chud go, that's not the big name that they were saying they wanted to find. So I don't know if they know what they're doing in Washington or what they're really doing in Cleveland. And then the one team that's been very quiet about all of their coaching search has been Minnesota. Now looking at there's a big list of candidates out there, and looking at the list, and I know you said you at Sporting News have that up and you're taking a look at that. Now let's just go by job. Looking at the Detroit job, who do you think would be the best candidate in Detroit?
Ken Wisenhunt. If they got Ken Wisenhunt, I'd be
right on the same page there.
I'd be scared. If he's their coach, I'm afraid of the Lions next year. That guy did marvels when he went to Arizona. He had to use Kurt Warner to bring him to the Super Bowl. He revived Kurt Warner in that last year, got him to the Super Bowl.
And he did.
And I look at how the deterioration went with that, and I honestly think that he should have never been fired from Arizona. I thought he should have been there, given the way that he can coach. And when you look at this year, when he went over to San Diego, he's now revived Phillip Rivers. The guy is going to revive the guy is going to make Stafford a better quarterback, and that scares me as a Packer fan because
if Stafford takes the coaching.
I think, to be honest, I'm looking at it from this standpoint, Evan. I'm going to give Wisenhunt the credit because he did do it with a Kurt Warner, a guy that had been to the big show, that was in the end of his career. And, yeah, Kurt Warner was doing his thing, but he played within Wisenhunt's system to get them where they had to go. And then this year you've got another veteran in Phillip Rivers who's never shy to speak his mind. And he's revived Phillip Rivers. You and I were talking about Phillip Rivers being on the downside of his career. Would he ever get to be elite? We didn't think so. But look what Wisenhunt's done.
Yeah.
If he can turn Stafford around, that scares me. Because I like Stafford the way he is as the gunslinger, because that's opportunities for us. If he corrals that and Wisenhunt gets more out of Stafford, they're going to be dangerous. But I think Wisenhunt's I think if I'm the Lions, I'm waiting for the Chargers to lose, and I already have the contract in my hand and say, sign this. I want you. That's my pick. Who do you think? You on the same page?
I agree with you. I think Wisenhunt will be the best candidate for that job. And the reason why I bring up if Stafford takes the coaching is, he made the comment during the offseason, Stafford did that he doesn't need a personal quarterback coach. So that's why I made the comment if he takes coaching. The other guy who I think would be two other guys I think would be a possible good fit for that job will be Greg Roman in San Francisco, which I also feel he was a good fit for the Washington job. And then Mike Munchak, who actually is interviewing or is going to be interviewing for that job. I think he would be a good candidate for that job too. They're tailor-made for him to be successful there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I still think Munchak's going to end up at Penn State. I really believe that's the way they're going to go. He's got the ties there.
But if an NFL job offers him,
yeah, I could see him. But where I'm thinking, I'm thinking that he's really taking a serious look at Penn State. I think that's a good opportunity for him, and there could be a job that goes out there. When I look at it with Munchak, and we can stay right on that and go into it. He's a guy where I could see actually ending up in Minnesota. I don't know why. It's just this feeling I have. Minnesota has a lot going on there, but Munchak is a guy that wants to bring the power type running game, and I know it's a passing league, right? but you have Adrian Peterson there. And Munchak tried to keep running the ball with Chris Johnson, averaging 2-3 yards a carry. My problem with Chris Johnson is he never hit the hole quick enough. He shifted his feet, he waited for the hole, he didn't hit the hole. Well, with Adrian Peterson, he's got a running back that'll hit the hole. Munchak likes to run the ball, and that's why I think he's a good fit in Minnesota, because he's going to stick to that running game, and we all know that they need a quarterback. But AP is the guy in Minnesota, and so when I look at the coaches on the list, who's going to stay committed to that part of the game, it's Mike Munchak. He's the guy that will continue to give the ball to the rock, to AP, and let him run 25, 30 times. And to be honest, at times if they would have done that, Minnesota might have been able to win a few more games. I know they got down and their defense is old and they've got to revamp the defense, but look what Munchak did on the defensive side. His staff, we just talked about it, put together a very solid defense with a lot of young guys. And so he could do it again in Minnesota. So I think Minnesota could be a landing spot for him if he goes into the NFL. I truly believe, though, he's going to end up at Penn State, because I don't think Minnesota will pull the trigger on him, which I think they should. But again, I'm the idiot with an opinion.
Yeah.
But moving along. Go ahead.
I was looking at the other job. I think we're on the same page so much here that we're both trying to jump to the next topic, looking at the time of the next team. One job I think is a done deal. It's just a matter of the Patriots being eliminated. I think Josh McDaniels to Cleveland is a done deal. I think either him, and if it's not him, it's going to be Adam Gase from Denver, the offensive coordinator. It's going to be one of those two. It's only a matter, I think, of who gets eliminated first. So I think they're going to Cleveland. I think that's a done deal. I guess, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, we're on the same page there. I know that Dan Quinn's name has come up, Todd Bowles' name's come up, but I think that's McDaniel's job if he wants it. I look at what McDaniel's done, and the listeners know that are loyal listeners. I'm not a huge fan on the Patriots, but I give credit where credit is due. Look what McDaniel's did this year with that offense. I know he's got Tom Brady, but injuries to Gronk, rookie wide receivers, still putting up numbers, still winning games. I think he deserves another shot, and I think Cleveland's his job to turn down. Now, I'm going to go back to my point, though, Evan. Does he want the job? When you look at it, he went to Denver and got his chance, and then kind of got rode out of town there. And you got to look at the history. What does Lombardi want to do there? Is he going to give McDaniel a year or two? Or is it going to be another, hey, you better win this year or show improvement in 1 year? I don't know if I'm a coach, especially with McDaniels being pretty hot right now. Of all the names that are out there, a lot of people are looking at him getting his chance again. Does he want to? And I'll say it like I did in the Packer recap yesterday, settling. Does he want to settle for Cleveland? Because what's going on in the front office? We talked about Washington, that the owner has the power. I'm not sure what's going on in Cleveland. I don't know if there's any power there. It looks like it's almost like pick straws to see what we're going to do here. Does Lombardi have the power? Does the owner have the power? It just seems like there's a little bit of confusion in that front office, and there has been for years. There has been confusion in that organization for years. So even though I believe it's McDaniel's job to turn down, if I'm McDaniels, I've got to think long and hard, do I want to go there? But I agree with you. I think that's his job.
Yeah.
But I think
it's his to lose.
What do you think about Washington? This coaching list grows and grows and grows every day. Now they're throwing Franklin in the mix.
Yeah. If I'm Washington, there's three guys who I would go all out after. One of them still in the playoffs. Two of them are in college. All three of them are offensive guys. I already mentioned it. Greg Roman, offensive coordinator of San Francisco. Well, you look at Alfred Morris, you look at RG3, and then you look at what Roman did with in San Francisco's offense with Colin Kaepernick and Frank Gore and LaMichael James and all that staple backs they have. that would be a great fit. I think Gus Malzahn would be a great fit with Washington right now with the pieces they have in place in Washington. That would be number 2 on my list. And number 3 would be his old coach out in Baylor. I think Art, how do you say his last name? Art, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and not following that too closely, I don't want to slaughter his name and really sound like an idiot.
Yeah, but I think he would be a great choice for that setup too, because now RG3 is going to be comfortable because he's played with that guy before. But I think if it has to be one of those 3 guys, Roman, Malzahn, which I don't think Malzahn leaves Auburn, or his old coach at Baylor, which I don't think he was Baylor, but it'd be one of those 3 if I'm Washington.
Yeah, well, and I'll touch on this, as I look at where we're ending up with the time on the episode. I think we've seen our only college coach make it in the NFL. I think Bill O'Brien's the only college coach that comes into the NFL ranks this year, because with you, as I was researching today for the show, I think Roman is a good choice. Colin Kaepernick, of course, is no RG3, nor is RG3 a Colin Kaepernick, but they do some of the similar things. They can make plays with their legs. And you look at what Roman has done to develop Kaepernick in the short time, and that was probably more of a development process than what he'll have with RG3. So if you look at what he did with Kaepernick, what could he do with RG3? And they're saying that, being able to have Roman in there, to be able to sit down with Griffin, I mean, that could be a match made in heaven, because Roman understands how to do the read option, how to allow the quarterback to play in the pocket but get out of the pocket and coach him up. So I agree with you. I think that would be a great fit right there. And the reason I bring up the no college coaches coming in at this point, Evan, is there's some people we didn't even mention that are on the list. You got Zimmer, you got Gruden, you got Bevel, you got Caldwell. You've got all these other coordinators out there that are starting to get their name made for them that also may be able to fill in an interview. And I just don't see. I know Chip Kelly had the success from Oregon coming to Philly this year, but I think Bill O'Brien going to Houston, and I agree with you, that was a great hire by them. Perfect fit. I just don't see another college coach, the ones that are left out there, filling the voids for these teams that are out there. What is your thought on that?
The one guy that I would see doing it would be Franklin, but I'm with you. I don't see any college guy making that jump, because you nailed it right on the head with some of the assistants that are out there. Like Dan Quinn from defense coordinator in Seattle, Darrell Bevel, offensive coordinator in Seattle, Vic Fangio, defense coordinator in San Francisco, Jack Del Rio, which I think that's who Minnesota's waiting for, to be honest. I think they're waiting for him to be available to interview him, so I don't see it happening either. I'm with you. I don't see another college coach getting the opportunity. Now, a couple of things, and I'm going to change gears here. I hope you're all right with that.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at the time, a couple of things I just want to mention is it looks like Johnny Manziel is going to be entering the NFL draft, which is quite expected. He signed reps for marketing and a contract, so that announcement should be coming very soon. And sent condolences to Todd Williams, former NFL player, played for the Titans, and drafted from them in 2003, and then played for the Buccaneers and then the Packers as well. He was found dead today in his hotel in Tampa Bay. And the last thought I want to have you give your thoughts on this very briefly is Aaron Rodgers has his Tuesday with Aaron, and a couple comments that he had made. First one is, if his collarbone's 100%, quote, I can't give you a yes or no answer. I was cleared to play against the Bears. That's all that matters. So that's the first quote that kind of makes me interested. Quote, the window has a chance to open up and be really bright for 4 to 5 years. My contract is for 6 more years. Expect to be playing well all 6. On the window of opportunity, this is the end of a window, and the beginning of a new one can open a new window that lasts. That combination, quote, interests me. And the last one, we all trust the judgment of Ted and Mike. As an older player, you understand the importance of having guys who have been there. So, what are your quick thoughts on those comments?
It's
by Aaron.
Yeah, what I read into this, Bud, is that he is actually challenging that front office to go out and sign some free agents. That's what I take from that, is that he wants to win, and it's great to build through the draft, and it's great to develop young players. But when you look at our Super Bowl, our most recent Super Bowl win, we had players that were a little bit older, and we lost some in free agency after that season, and that's okay. That's the business. I look at it from Aaron Rodgers saying, look, this chapter was closed this year. For it to open, we need guys that can get there and get the job done. And I don't think he's specifically talking about the draft. I think he's talking about free agency. Now, you and I both know we don't need them to go break the bank. We're not expecting them to break the bank. But we've got to get players in that can play and make plays. And you can find those, and I'll call them B-tier free agents or low-grade A free agents that aren't breaking the bank, that may be right at the cusp of that and maybe only have one or two more good years. But we have to remember, Aaron Rodgers is 30 years old. And so, yes, he may only have 6 more years to play. So we need to go out.
Even that, knowing the way the NFL is.
Exactly. So I think he put out a challenge in a very tactful way to the front office that, look, I trust you guys, and you know what it takes to win. Now go do it. I think he did it that way. Yep. What do you think?
And it's funny how we're both, always on the same page, because I think he was doing the exact same thing. I think he was challenging Mike McCarthy and challenging Ted Thompson in particular to say, hey, look, we have enough young guys here on this team. We have enough, draft and develop type guys. We need impact guys on this team. We need an impact safety. We need an impact middle linebacker. We need an impact outside linebacker to pair with Clay. We need, some more bodies on the offensive line. I think that's what he was saying exactly. And can some of that be done via draft? Yes. But I think he's saying that they need to go to the free agent market for a couple of these pieces. And, there's his last name is Bird. He's a safety out in Denver. He's a free agent, and I don't think he wants to be back in Buffalo. That I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers end up taking a run at him, because you remember when Thompson first got to Green Bay, the first couple moves he did is he signed Charles Woodson. And I know he had been there for about a year, but he had signed Charles Woodson and he had signed Ryan Pickett. And 2010 happened, and I think it got him complacent that, hey, this draft and develop worked, because we had all these guys on injured reserve and all these free, people I drafted and undrafted free agents that I signed. They got us there, so we can just keep doing that. But here's the thing. It doesn't work all the time like that. He needs to switch it up. And before you close out the show,
90
just
seconds.
a reminder to the listeners, and you're going to throw this out there too, I'm sure, that tomorrow is Twitter Talk. So shoot us your topics. Email it to us, tweet us, Facebook us, whatever your choice is in regards to communication. Get in contact with us and let us know. And then on Saturday show, I did really enjoy that. And this Saturday, I think, will be an interesting topic for everybody. And
60 seconds.
Telling you this is I got a beef with Ted Thompson, and that's where I'm going to focus my rant on Saturday about. So, do you want to close her up?
Yeah. Well, I always like, and I'm really starting to enjoy. It'll just be our second episode on Saturday. But for those fans that didn't realize what we're doing, Saturday is no prep time. Like today, Evan and I got together. We get together 15 minutes before the show, go over our notes a little bit from our individual research. Saturday, we don't compare notes. We just rant. And so that is a great show on Saturday. But with that said, like Evan said, tomorrow is Twitter Talk. Tweet us, Facebook us, email us. We'll get it all out on social media. Tomorrow we want to talk about your topics. As always, we enjoy having you listen to the show. We'll see you at the next red light.